what does it mean to you if you don't get to the goals? Devastating?
Yeah, because, like my mum said, it's my life pretty much. It's what I've always wanted to do since I was little.
Yeah. So I'm Matthew Cox and I'm a business strategist. I've run and grown multiple businesses over the last 15 or so years. Join me on my journey with helping other entrepreneurs figure out what their goals are, how to set them and how to achieve them. So our podcast guest today is extremely exciting. He is in the motorsport, fast-paced action, loves it. He's literally gone from the age of 11 all the way up to 20 years old now, and he's got himself a mega deal where he can be racing for a racing team. But he's struggling. He's got to raise £250,000 worth of sponsorship in order for this to be sustainable. And that's a tall order for a young 20-year-old to do. So we're going to have a look at really how he can drill down into that, the kind of people that he needs to market, and a little bit about personal branding. So let's get into the podcast. Right, today we've got Ruben Lowe here in the podcast, and we're going to be talking about his journey at all, and really what his goals are and how he's going to reach them and the hurdles that he's going to have over that. So we'll jump straight into the podcast. Ruben, in a kind of less than a sort of 3 minutes or so, tell us about your journey. Normally, kind of start from like maybe the beginning of your journey to where you are now, really.
Well, it all started really when me and my mates, when we were like 11 years old, decided to go karting, and my mum took us and we went. And my mum found out that I was quite good at it. So she bought me a membership and we kept going. And then obviously got spotted quite a bit and was told that I've got a bit of a natural talent for it. And since then, we've been trying to go professional, as in like from karting to cars and now to where I am now.
Yeah.
And pretty much.
Okay.
Sort of started from there.
So tell me a bit about that journey, because obviously it's not an industry that I'm overly familiar with. So you go from kind of karting to then being spotted by someone or something, or how's that kind of work?
That is a sort of rule of thumb. Is like normally every like successful racing driver, they start out in karting. That's where you start like your base on, and then you'll move up to like cars, and then up to like whatever else it may be. Yeah. But I mean, I haven't really started in the professional sort of sense in karting. I've more sort of just jumped straight into cars.
Right, okay.
Because the karting industry now is so big, it's almost impossible to get spotted. Yeah. So I thought, instead of just wasting money in that, just go straight into cars and then hopefully get spotted there. Okay.
Fine. So that journey, like from that to the cars, how long has that taken you? So that's what, 11 or something?
Yeah,
written on your sheet.
I started karting when I was 11 years old. Yeah. And we tried to properly go professionally with two teams when I was like 13, 14 years old in karting. Okay. And my mum wanted me to do my GCSEs, so we sort of had to move that to the side for a bit. Yeah. And then we got to the point where we were like, instead of doing karting, let's try and get into cars. So we did a couple of track days, and fortunately enough, I actually did get spotted by a couple of teams, but unfortunately they did want quite a lot of money. Yeah. Yeah, which has always been, it's always been like the big wall in front of it all, pretty much.
And I think that's one of the things that we're going to touch on today. When you say they want quite a lot of money, I mean, in terms of your assistance in gathering sponsorship deals and the rest of it for it, isn't it? So, as opposed to physical money from yourself. Yeah. So no, that's really interesting. What were you like at school is often something I like to ask podcast guests. I know that probably wasn't that long ago for you.
I don't know. I would say a bit of a little git, to be fair. I used to muck about all the time in school, to be fair. Whenever, there was break time or something, me and my mates would always just go and muck about, annoy the teachers, do this, and you know what I mean, just do this, that, and the other. And I always used to annoy my teachers in class because I used to be obsessed with racing. Yeah. It'd always be like something to do with cars on my laptop. So, pretty much.
Everything. It's hard to focus when you're like that enthusiastic about
it's driving nuts.
I grew up BMXing, and that was what I did in school. I was very much like, I was not particularly academically interested in things. So it's quite hard when your focus isn't there. But no, that's good. But you managed to get through school and get your GCSEs and stuff.
Pretty much.
That's good. Okay. So on the questions, obviously we've asked the things about what you want to do in 1 year, 5 years and 10 years, that kind of thing. So we'll have a little look at your goals. And I know a lot of it is going to revolve around the sponsorship and stuff. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to, maybe we'll touch on the 1 year goal. So at the moment, correct me if I'm wrong, you've got this deal, you have to forgive me if I get the names of them wrong, but the Porsche Carrera Cup in the UK.
Yes, but
that is subject to some sponsorship or something. So presumably that's your kind of year goal.
Yeah, that is a year goal. I mean, hopefully this year, fingers crossed, because I'm going through the licensing process. So I have to, because it's such a powerful car, you have to upgrade your license.
Right.
And I'm currently in the process of doing that. It's only in like a little Mazda MX-5, but hopefully once I get all of that signed off and I've upgraded my license, I'll be doing some appearances in some of the races for this year.
Okay. And
then hopefully next year we'll be like racing full time in the series.
Yeah.
Which will hopefully be
okay. So it's you get a license, you upgrade the license and then they allow you to drive anyway. But is that subject to then the sponsorship, or you have to sell a minimum amount of the space on the car, or they let you drive and then see how the season goes, or how's that bit of it work?
It's more of a case of like they'll see, like you show them, like say with my license at the moment, it is a good opportunity for potential sponsors to see how I am and whether they want to invest their money into it.
Yeah.
And then once like there is a sponsor, depending on how much they put in towards like the budget and everything.
Yeah.
Depends on how big like their logo is on the car.
Yeah.
And how much exposure to like cameras, stuff like that they get.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay. And the type of exposure is what? Is mainstream TV, I presume, or it's not?
Yes, I believe it is, because they are some of the races are broadcasted on ITV Sport, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of mainstream TV. We're not talking like channel 799 or
nothing like that. No, it is pretty like mainstream stuff, to be fair.
Okay. No, that's good. So in terms of, so that's like your kind of season one, I suppose, that you want to kind of get out there with the car and the rest of it. And it's not, maybe the barrier to what you want to achieve is not overly high, other than kind of impressing those sponsors.
Pretty much.
Presumably, I don't know, do they give you a remit of like a time scale, like they want sponsors within a certain amount of period? I mean, presumably, obviously, I know motorsport is expensive, so that's kind of what they're after, really, I suppose, isn't it?
I'm not really too sure, to be fair. I mean, I know that the team that I'm with at the moment, they do contracts. I don't know if that sort of falls under that category or not.
Yeah.
But they've done they do like a 3-year contract with like their main sponsor and everything.
Yeah.
And then after that, they'll go and look for someone else, or whether they want that same sponsor to be part of it. Pretty much.
So your remit in it is obviously to be the driver and do a good job of doing that, but also to be sort of an ambassador and try and get sponsorships on board and obviously retain them, I suppose, isn't it? So, And how's that going at the moment?
Not too bad at all. We have got a fair few companies which are interested, which are definitely interested, especially for next year as well.
Yeah.
And we're just hoping that they can pull through and give put some funding towards it, and so we can actually, get racing with it and everything.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting. So in terms of, once you've got initially through that initial season where you've got the 1 year thing, I mean, presumably they've given you a contract for a period of time, have they? Or
they won't.
That's on off, not on offer yet.
They won't. They don't give the driver's contracts. It only happens, I believe, in like Formula 1 and stuff so far. Yeah. But depending on how I do and everything, we will come to a certain deal. I mean, at the moment, my team is very, very keen for me to be driving for them. Yeah. Like, very keen.
Okay.
It is just the money bit.
Definitely, So in terms of the money bit, what is the actual goal that they have set you?
It's £250,000.
Yeah, that's of sponsorship.
Yeah, that is like the whole budget for the year, pretty much. Yeah, that is like everything.
Yeah, and what's committed so far for year one? Do you know that figure or
not yet?
Not yet. Is it percentage-wise a fraction of that, or is it?
It's a little bit here and there. Yeah. We're not too sure what an exact number is yet.
Okay. Still in negotiation.
Yeah, still in negotiation.
All right. And then, you know, kind of leading on from that, what's the kind of goal over the next 3 to 5 years, really? Is that where you want it? Do you like go up? I mean, presumably, eventually, Formula One is like the ultimate goal, I suppose. Isn't it?
Yeah, Formula One would be nice. It would be nice, but I've been always a bit more interested in the endurance racing, like 24 hours of Le Mans.
Yeah,
like that sort of endurance racing, everything like that. Because with it being like the Carrera Cup, it's all based around Porsche, and Porsche have like a big sort of racing team which takes part in that event.
Yeah.
So my goal is to really sort of just climb that sort of ladder in like the Porsche categories, pretty much, and then hopefully be at that point where I'm racing with that big old team.
And do they do kind of like stages before you get to the 24 hour? I mean, it strikes me like that's a good test of endurance, but presumably there are other. That's like the famous one everyone would have heard on, but are there other kind of long endurance races?
There are. They do. Well, they're not all like 24 hours long. Sometimes can be 6 or like 12 hours long, and they do them pretty much like all over the world. It's a bit like Formula One, but just like, you know, just a lot longer races, pretty much.
Yeah, a lot longer.
A lot longer, yeah.
Okay. So moving on from that, obviously, we often talk to podcast guests about the kind of 10-year plan, but obviously in this kind of industry, that's quite hard to focus. But you mentioned further down that you want to try and aim to be the next Lewis Hamilton. And I love that. It might feel a bit cheesy, but I always think that everyone totally underestimates what they can achieve in 10 years and overestimates what they can achieve in a year. And so there is no reason why you can't, you know, if you have that goal there, then that will spur you on to that. Even if you think it's sky high, I think you need that kind of level of ness, especially in your industry. Like, you know, you've got to really believe in yourself.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis Hamilton, that's a big shot. That is a big shot, but it would be nice to be, you know, someone who's recognised in, especially like the category that I'm racing in.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just be a big name, build a name for myself and be that, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think there's anything wrong with aiming for the sky, you know. Even if it feels like it's really far off, then you have that target to go for. Yeah. And it's like a key performance indicator. If you don't reach it, where did you reach to? And then you can monitor that. Whereas if you never have that goal, then it's hard to achieve.
Yeah, that is true.
So, okay. Challenges we'll move on to. So your 3 biggest challenges kind of sound all very similar. Funds, sponsorship and more funds.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I think this conversation is going to be around about funding.
Yeah, it's going to be around about funding.
So you mentioned that you got £250,000.
Yeah,
you got to make that. And that is you or as a collective, as in the rest of the Carrera team?
It's for like the team. Yeah, it's pretty much for the team, and like the whole budget for that entire season is.
I mean, as in more, does the responsibility of getting the 250 fall on you, or is there other marketing people involved, or the rest of team members, or?
I mean, my mum. My mum has been lovely enough to help me out. Yeah, I can't thank her enough of it. Okay. But yeah, it does.
And is that help from mum in finance or in finding people?
In finding people. She's a lot better.
Because that's more useful to you than just chucking money at it, because it will teach you then how to get these
pretty
people.
Much.
So,
yeah, my mum. Yeah, she's a lot better at talking to people about getting money together than me.
Yeah. But they'll want to, in time, speak to you, though, because you're the face, you're the ambassador. So, to get those skill sets to do that. So what are the kind of, you don't have to name the sponsors if you don't want to, you're more than welcome to, but are they kind of like small businesses, medium size or whatever? And what would, like, when we talk in size of businesses, it's generally like small would be like less than 10 employees, medium might be up to 50, and then a larger would be more than 50 employees.
We're aiming for like, you know, like the big ones, like more than 50 employees and so forth.
Yeah.
We have got a few, and I'm not going to name them just yet, just in case they don't
that's fine, I understand that.
But yeah, some of the ones that we have got at the moment are rather well funded.
Yeah, their marketing budgets are in the millions, so therefore 100k here and there.
100k here and there is
not the end of the world.
It's not going to cause them to fold.
What do you... I mean, obviously, I know your mum's helped you a bit so far, but what do you do to get in front of those people at the moment? Because obviously you can go to all your networking events and the rest of it, but those sort of people generally don't run businesses that have, multi-million pound budgets for these sort of things. So.
I mean, I would normally look up a company. Yeah. Like, say, just going down the road whilst I'm at work, I'll just look at this firm that's just driven past us or something. I'll look up their website and maybe give them a ring, asking if there is someone that I could maybe talk to who is who would be able to speak to me about whether the company's open to the idea of sponsorships or not, and then go on from there, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. I think it would be good, like, for you and to work with your mum as well, to try and strategize about who you want to kind of target in terms of, rather than just like waiting for a lorry to go past and you see a name on the side like Halfords and you go, I'll give them a call. Yeah. And I think in my opinion, what you would be really good at doing is maybe doing things like going on Company's House. I don't know if you've ever been on Company's House at all, but it's where all companies have to submit their financial performance and their detailed sets of accounts to Company's House every year. And you can actually download like a cut down version of them. So that way you can see where those companies are profitable, because they might be really big, but they might not have a big marketing budget, because you could have a really huge company and have a very small profit margin. So they might not have the money, even though they appear to be big. Or you might have another company that's maybe not as big, but might have a bigger marketing budget. I mean, you will know of Red Bull, obviously, but they are literally just a marketing company primarily, really, aren't they? They're literally, I mean, I don't know how much percentage sales of Red Bull makes up their revenue, but the events that they hold, for instance, so their marketing budget will be loads higher than, I don't know, you like to Waitrose, for instance. Yeah. But Waitrose might be interested in the exposure at a more kind of grassroots, like lower level, because of their remit. So you can go on Company's House, have a look at those accounts, so you can single out maybe some companies that you'd like to work with, and maybe put a remit together for why you'd like to work with them, not just like ring them up and go, would you like to sponsor me?
Yeah,
and almost
that
say
doesn't work.
like, I actually want you on my car because I like whatever this brand is. If you believe in them, you could be like Holland and Barrett, for instance, the people that do all the like herbal remedies and bits and bobs that are quite big in the UK. They've probably got a fairly big marketing budget. So, you might be like, I like that kind of thing because it's very eco-friendly herbalness or something, if that's what you like. But you would write them a letter and just say, look, this is why I want to work with you guys, because I actually love your product, not just the fact I want it on the car. And that will end up getting in front of the procurement manager or the marketing budget person or whatever, because you're not just someone ringing up out of the blue and going, oh, do you want to part with $100,000 for the spoiler or something? Or whatever?
Pretty much. I mean, that is sort of how I first went about it. Yeah. Until my mum got involved, she was like, no, you need to do this, you need to do that. Yeah. Because basically what I'm doing is just calling people up and asking for money. That's like the bottom line of it.
And I think it will, whether you like it or not, it will be hard for you to do it that way. Yeah. They'll have the age, they'll have a trust thing, you've got to build up those relationships. But I think if you definitely do a bit of research on companies to make sure they've got that kind of budget, or they look like they might have that sort of budget. And then if they're a company that you really want to work with, like it fits your personal remit, like the way you like to work with them. Like you probably got, if you could have your perfect brand, I don't know who it might be, but like
probably be Red Bull.
Yeah. For instance, Red Bull, but then secondary like motoring companies and stuff.
Yeah,
would be nice, like Snap-on or something like that.
Something that's involved.
Exactly. So you would write a passionate letter to them or an email or something like that. There's the last podcast guest we had on, we had a conversation about writing letters and sending bits of paper rather than sending emails, because I think people's inboxes just get full of junk nowadays. They don't read anything. And a friend of mine, they actually literally boxed up a shoe and then put a letter inside, and then they said, it's like a foot in a door or something. But I tell you what, the actual box got to the right person, because obviously it's like a parcel, isn't it? So they were keen to open it, but of course they read the letter, and they do work together, so it was a good story because it was actually something that resulted in it. But it's hard to get in front of those right people if you've not done your research and the rest of it. So I think that would be a key piece of advice, and single out who it is you want to work with. Don't be too picky, because I think a lot of the time the budgets, especially in this current economy, they are a bit tighter than they perhaps were a few years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, I would be looking at doing that. So if you want to apply for the podcast, please head over to matthewcox.biz and apply online. Thank you. So we'll just move on to maybe some of the other bits in your kind of 3 challenges, if you like. I know you've put funds, sponsorship and more funds, which are all very similar, as we touched on before. But I think one of your things that I wanted to ask you about in terms of your journey of collecting funds was really your kind of your own brand, your social presence. What do you kind of do about that at the moment?
I mean, I have started up an Instagram account and a Facebook account just for the racing and everything. Yeah. But I don't just put like racing in there, because I'm very into my bikes. Yeah. Like very into
motorbikes.
Yeah, motorbikes.
I was going to say, probably not push bikes. I was going to hazard a guess.
Nah. Yeah, anything motor I'm interested in, pretty much. Yeah. But yeah, I'll sometimes put stuff on there, like if I go with my mates. Yeah. And just stuff like that, really. Just, it's not so much everything about 90% of it is just racing, but you've got to put something a little bit in there, which is a bit different.
I don't, obviously I haven't looked at your social channel. I don't know how many followers you've got and likes and all that rest of the jazz. And I guess it's fairly low if you haven't had them very long.
Yeah, it's only been up for a couple of months now, but it was mainly my mum's idea.
Your mum's got some good ideas.
She has got some good ideas, yeah.
So kind of where I'm going with it is that I think personally, in this sort of industry, it's ripe for you having like your own brand. People, it's very sexy, if you like, the motor car industry and the rest of it. And people like that Instagram follower. Yeah. They'll want to see what you're doing. And I always say, like, the followers and the likes and subscribes and all that sort of stuff is an ego fueling thing. It doesn't earn you any money. Obviously, you can monetize some things, which we'll come on into a second. But I think that level of exposure is what a lot of sponsorship people will be looking for. So if you can build that brand that is about you, there's 2 benefits to it. One is it will allow you to get sponsorship, which might not be your big 100-grand one, but it might be like, I mean, you see like Huel, the people that do the things, and Y Food and Squarespace. Anything you watch on YouTube is full of those sort of sponsorship people. Those people will be reaching out to you as soon as you get to like any real decent level of subscribers, like, your 10, 20, 30K, because they're much smaller YouTube channels. Whereas when you get to like your 1 million subscribers, then obviously, that's akin to much bigger brands. And then they block you from doing smaller things. But I think that's a really good way of maybe not necessarily getting your £250,000, but it's a drip feed of income, but it also exposes you and you can demonstrate. So when you're talking to Snap-on or somebody like that, or whoever you're targeting, you can say, look, I've also got, 50,000 followers on LinkedIn and 50,000 followers on Facebook and 100,000 on Instagram. And then you might have a YouTube channel which has got bits of you racing and doing stuff, fast action things or whatever, or behind the scenes, you messing around, and people seeing Ruben as a person, as a brand. And the major benefit of that is that if the Porsche Carrera team decide that you're not for them and you've got to go somewhere else or whatever, you take all that stuff with you. That is your own. It's your own brand. So, when you're then negotiating somewhere else, you're bringing that to the table then, haven't you? You kind of almost built yourself a little ecosystem that revolves around Ruben. You have to be a little careful with it because obviously you're in the public eye, so you can't put anything on there that's offensive.
No.
You've got to avoid politics and all the rest of it. And as it grows, you might need some sort of media training in order for you to not make those mistakes. But in the first instance, I think it's a really good way of building brand awareness and getting that out there.
Yeah, I mean, the team that I'm with at the moment, the one in the Porsche Carrera Cup, they do want me to like learn how to like, you know, present yourself to a camera because it is broadcast on TV and everything. And yeah, they just want me to know how to like, you know, talk to cameras, talk to people, this, that and the other, which I've never really been able to do properly, like talk to a camera and so forth, like get interviews.
It's also the social media side of it, the training in that, you know, if that grows to a certain size, like not posting saying, I support the Conservatives, you know, I hope they get in or something like that. Although that might be may or may not be the way you want to go with it, it's really easy to make little mistakes like that or say something that perhaps isn't gender neutral favour or whatever offends people.
You've got to be careful these days.
Especially when you're posting stuff and you're in such a kind of public space, if you like, at that time. And that is your USP as you move around racing teams or you're trying to attract sponsorship. You know, what kind of level of exposure are we going to get here? If you can then add in that you've got like 100,000 followers on Instagram or something like that, or whatever it might be, and work really hard on that. That's something you can do that's going to allow you to do that, but it's also something that is yours. So it's not something you lose if they say, oh, we're not sponsoring you anymore, we've got another driver in, or you've got to go to another team or something. You're going to take that with you. Danny, who edits these videos, me and her went to Eastbourne Borough Football Club, and literally they are like going mad for social media. Like they've got like a whole team of you know, people that film all the matches. They make all these stupid memes when they announce all their players. They have like they don't just have like a press release. They have like a jokey thing. Like, I don't know, you have to go and watch them, but they're all kind of, you know, very jovial, but they're targeting a market of like younger people to follow. And then what they're doing is they're attracting the big money, like Norwegian Cruises are their main sponsor. Because their parents will probably take them to the matches or whatever. But what they're doing is they're encouraging the kids to then, or the younger people to come and like all the followers to build that. So Norwegian Cruises see that, and it's like an ecosystem. Because it's all kind of self-fueling then, really.
Okay.
So I'd really recommend you get on that. And definitely
we're gonna have to.
People like short form content. They don't want loads of blogs and stuff to read and things. Fast action pace as well, like motorsports is fast, so like make some nice, you know, 1 minute videos about the race you're going to at the weekend or something, come down or whatever, and I'll quite happily sign you out or something like that. You know, you've got to be like flamboyant about it, and then, you know, you'll get people follow you and things like that, and then watch those videos, and then they'll share them, and then you can use that as a tool when you're trying to negotiate, you know, sponsorship deals.
Okay.
You got to, if you put yourself in their shoes, you've got to remember what is it they're going to get out of it. And it's not just being on ITV or sport or whatever. It's actually, are they going to get access to your 100,000 followers? That's like a nice little sweetener on the side, isn't it? Especially if you're a multi-discipline business where you might go, well, I don't know, let's say you're Waitrose, for instance, and you're sponsoring the spoiler, but you're also going to then be able to kind of pump your Christmas market or something else, or they might own another smaller business that is more of the target market of that, so it's like another bolt on.
Okay.
I mean, if you struggle with it, there are plenty of people, fairly saturated market, that can help you with that. So you can find those sort of people locally or whatever to help you do that. But I'd suggest in the first instance, you just go and set up a few YouTube channels and the rest of it, get some subscribers and the rest of it, and put some nice fast videos on there, and try and put them on Facebook, and make it about you as a business. So like, I know you mentioned about your motorbikes and stuff. That's cool to put on there, but it has to be like a business, not just like going out with my mates at the weekend. As your audience grow, they'll probably want to know that. So like on Facebook, they'll want to see business, but on Instagram, you'll figure out that they're probably quite interested in seeing a picture of you out with your mates or something, because there's different types of followers and demographics. So
Okay.
All right. Okay. So what does your day-to-day look like? You've got, I work full-time to pay the bills, but spend time contacting potential sponsors and sending links to my profile. So you're kind of on the right track.
Yeah,
I think you just need
there.
to inject some Red Bull into it. So yeah, I mean, obviously you've always got to earn money to do these things and on that journey, and that's always difficult. Any sort of journey of kind of trying to better your career or whatever, whether it's in a business or sporting or something, it's always going to involve putting in the extra hours and the extra miles. No pun intended there. But yeah, so with the contacting sponsors and that, I think we've kind of covered that. Like, don't do the ringing up thing. I think you're almost wasting your own time doing that. You need to think outside the box. I mean, I'm not saying do the shoe thing, but like that definitely worked for them. They got it in front of the right people. Even if they then didn't do any business, they might have sat on that for a year or two and come back later, you know, which might be the point where you've got 100,000 subscribers or something, or followers. And then they're like, actually, I remember you when you sent me a shoe in the post, and now look at you, you know. And then they'll be like, actually, I can see the growth and it's tangible. And then you're going to get people starting to fight over sponsorship deals. So yeah, I think that's good, and I love the fact that you want to go to be Lewis Hamilton, and that's the ultimate goal. I think everybody needs that, and they can all learn from that.
I mean, Lewis Hamilton that's a very high margin to go to. But
I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Definitely, like, you know, build a name for myself in the industry.
Obviously, you put a pretty high margin on what does it mean to you if you don't get to the goals? Devastated?
Yeah, because, you know, like my mum said, it's my life pretty much. It's what I've always wanted to do since I was little. Yeah.
But I think, you know, you follow some of those things that we've discussed and you should be able to get that. I don't see any reason why you can't aim to be Lewis Hamilton. And I think in today's market, a big social presence is really key, especially in like any kind of softer industries, sporting industries, influencing, all that sort of stuff. Build that brand and you can take it with you. If you go somewhere else, and make sure you're targeting the right type of business. Make sure they're big enough and they've got enough disposable income to take a punt on it a little bit, which might be what they're doing in the early days. And then you can justify that punt with actual backed up data to them, saying, look, you know, you've had exposure to 100,000 people plus whatever ITV. You know, you've got to really pitch that stuff. They're not going to just part with the money that easily, even if it is a bit of a punt to them. If they've got a £5 million budget, they still want to understand. You know, if you ask me to spend £1,000, I still want to know what I'm going to get for it. So brilliant. Was there anything else you wanted to talk on? You've got hospitality packages, including being in the paddock and stuff like that.
Well, again, depends on how much you put into it. Because, like I said before, depending on how much you get into it, what you put into it, it's depending on how big you like your brand or how much exposure you get. But it also can, you know, give you some benefits of, like, if you do turn up to a race day, like you said, there is some hospitality stuff, and hopefully, if we can, at the end of the season, for like the biggest sponsor or anything, we will do a track day sort of thing. Where I can take them out in the Porsche and then they can drive certain Porsches. Not that one though, because apparently it's like way too powerful. And hopefully.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're really good incentives if you get the right people, you know, and they're motorsport enthusiasts. Then offering them that is there. You will find in the corporate world, you'll come across people that just want to know the numbers. There's a numbers game to them. Like, I'm not a football fan, but I went to Eastbourne Borough Football Club to find out what level of exposure they could give us. I'm not interested in how many goals they scored last season and all the rest of it. I just want to know how many people are going to see our logo and the rest of it. So you know, they're good packages. Like, they're offering me like, oh, you can go and sit in the front row, and I'm thinking, so I don't know, I don't even want to go anyway. So I'll give it to someone else. But so just be mindful that some people, you know, with the corporate hospitality, it's not always going to be their cup of tea. Make it maybe so you can give it away to a client or something like that. That might be a good avenue there.
Someone in there who likes it.
But I think in the first instance, if you concentrate on the things we discussed before, i.e. building the social brand and focusing on the right people before you kind of go into that side of it, probably will build your your brand and your kind of portfolio of sponsors quicker than if you kind of get too muddied into this at this stage. So
Okay,
brilliant. All right, well, it's been a real pleasure having you on.
Thank you very much.
I'd love to have you on in like a year's time or something. See how you're getting on. That would be really good. And for the audience, in the meantime, if they do want to follow you along on your journey or whatever, how can they currently get hold of you?
They can get hold of me via my Instagram page and Facebook account and my phone number, really.
Yeah. So you don't want loads of people phoning you. So what are your Facebook and your Instagram handles?
They are called. Well, I think they believe they have the same name, and it is Ruben Lowe Racing GP.
Yeah,
and that's all. Just
and that's Lowe with an E.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and the profile picture is a guy in a white Porsche.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Okay. So look out for that if you want to go and give Ruben some love on social media, and then hopefully you can then post links on those to the other things like the YouTube and stuff like that. I would go across all platforms, to be honest with you. I don't think there's any that don't apply to you. I mean, LinkedIn will be less applied to you, but you'll find that demographic will be more the decision makers that might befriend you on there, as opposed to like a loyal fan audience. Like Instagram are going to be different to Facebook to LinkedIn. So, but I don't think there's not a platform that wouldn't apply. So some are going to be slightly better than others.
Some better, some worse. Yeah.
Brilliant. All right. Well, we'll see you in a year.
Brilliant. See you in a year. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Right, I really hope you enjoyed today's audio podcast, and it's been really, really great having today's guest on, and I hope that you can all pick up some really amazing tips and hints, some structures to their businesses and the rest of it, and really what I would do if I was in their shoes. If you want to come on the audio podcast, what you need to do is head over to our website, www.matthewcox.biz. That's Matthew with 2 T's. There's a filled out form for you on there. Fill that in. That goes off. We'll get you on the podcast. It's filmed for YouTube, and then it also goes on Apple, Spotify, all those kind of streaming services. It's free of charge. Just come on the show, have a chat, open and frank with me, and then you can use all those bits for your own social medias if you want to, or whatever. And it goes, as I say, on audio and on YouTube. So if you want to apply for the podcast, please head over to matthewcox.biz and apply online. Thank you.